Welcome back to the Female Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Danny. For anyone watching this on video, first of all, I'm wearing a body warmer because I've just got in the house and it's quite cold. And second of all, I know the environment is different. I'm actually dog sitting at the moment in Sheffield, so hence why the change of scenery. But anyway, I hope you're all having a wonderful day whenever you're listening to this. Today's podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own journey with my personal development and my relationship with myself as a whole and my relationship with my body. And I suppose my progress with my self-confidence and self-belief and my ability to talk to myself in a much more positive way. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it is something that I talk about quite a lot with my clients in one-to-one coaching. It's something that I help them with. And I like to be somebody that practices what they preach, who embodies the work that they do. And I think so it's important for me to talk about that aspect of things as well. So I'll sometimes get my clients to do things like make notes in their phone about positive thoughts they might have had about themselves or their bodies. And I'll get them to take a note of the negative thoughts sometimes as well, so we can actually address them and move towards a more positive relationship with themselves, exercise, training in their bodies. And I want to kind of give you guys an insight into the progress that I've made personally with that. Otherwise, I feel like it might, I don't know, I just think it's important to, as a coach, put into practice the things that you talk about and the values that you say you have. I think it's important that you actually act in line with them. And with a lot of this kind of work, it can sometimes be easy to put it on the back burner, but it can genuinely have such a profound impact on your life if you work on your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your body, and your relationship with training, rest, all of that kind of thing as well, and your relationship with food. But it's so easy to put it off. And so I think in today's podcast, my hope is that by talking about my own journey with this kind of stuff and the impact it's had on my relationship with myself and therefore my life, my hope is that you will see this kind of work as more worth it and you'll make an effort to do the small things that might move you towards a more positive relationship with yourself. So that's my kind of goal, I guess, with today's podcast. And as always, if you're listening through this and any questions come up or you have any sort of like feedback for me, or if there's anything that you relate to, I would absolutely love to hear from you. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. You're welcome to just drop me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram's Danny Bosworth. I would love to hear from you. And there's never any such thing as a stupid question either. So please don't hesitate to reach out with any that you do have. So, as a bit of background, I am naturally a very self-critical person. And I think I always have been my entire life, to be honest. My default is to talk down to myself, not to big myself up. And my default is to never feel truly satisfied with where I am. And it's something that has impacted my personal life and my professional life and has shown up in many ways. So, as an example, in my personal life, in the past, it's resulted in me pushing my body to the extreme through bodybuilding at the detriment of my health and to the point where it became my entire life. And I now know, I didn't know this at the time when I was competing in bodybuilding, but now after so much reflection and learning about myself, I understand that it was largely my way of feeling like I was enough, of sort of working to prove myself and prove my worth from quite a negative place of lack, from this place of not feeling like I was ever enough and talking down to myself in a lot of ways. And throughout the process of bodybuilding, because I was doing it from this place of lack, from this quite negative place where I used to talk down to myself a lot, what happened is I became very critical of my physique in the process. I sort of projected that feeling of not being enough onto my physique. That became the thing that I was really critical of, that I always felt like I needed to improve, which obviously lends itself to the nature of bodybuilding when you're working to change your physique in line with bodybuilding criteria. And during my time in the sport, I did engage in a lot of negative comparison of myself to others or of myself to the criteria, both in person and also on social media. So, if, for example, I went to a fitness expo because they were really big at the time and they're really big in the sport of bodybuilding, I'd be, first of all, wearing something that exposed my physique because I felt like that was what determined my worth. And so I had to show that off. And second of all, I'd walk around those expos and other events and bodybuilding shows, comparing myself to other people, judging myself against other people, and constantly having this sort of awareness of what do I look like and trying to make myself look as lean as possible, like my midsection was as small as possible, so things like breathing in, especially on pictures. And I'd always kind of come away from those events feeling like I'd I had a really negative sort of percept feeling about myself, my physique, and there was so much that I needed to improve because of this like underlying drive to prove myself through bodybuilding and because my actions were coming from this place of just not feeling like I was enough. And professionally, it meant that until I worked on my relationship with myself and my relationship with work, again, nothing ever felt enough. So I always kind of felt like I was failing, no matter how good the work I was doing with clients was or how much money I was making. And that is now very far from the case because I've done the work on my relationship with myself and my body and my work and rest. I am so proud of myself in a lot of ways. I'm going to come on to something that I wrote in the notes on my phone personally last week, which was a really lovely moment for me. But even on the work side of things, I now am so confident that I'm an amazing coach. And regardless of how my business is doing on a surface level in terms of the number of clients I have or the income that my income levels or whatever it might be, I am fully confident that I am an incredible coach and I am brilliant at what I do. I have so much evidence of that that has helped me move towards a more positive relationship with my work and has helped me recognize how brilliant I am at what I do. But I also am not dependent upon that external feedback. And if anything, say, I don't know, my client numbers dropped, which is a natural part of running a business. Your client numbers are going to fluctuate because clients will achieve their goals, come to the end of the coaching process, and leave eventually. So it's normal for your client numbers to fluctuate. And in the past, when I was kind of working from this place of lack and I never felt like anything was enough, if my client numbers fluctuated down, I would tell myself that was because I wasn't good enough, because I was never going to make it as a coach, because I was always going to fail, I was always going to run into obstacles. Whereas now, if that happens, my mindset is this is a natural part of running a business, especially a coaching business, that clients are going to come to a point where they've reached their goals and they're ready to go off on their own. And you're also going to run into every now and again clients who just don't fit you as a coach, and that's also okay. And I know that it's not a reflection of my worth as a coach or my worth personally, whereas previously I'd take it so personally and it would really affect, therefore, how I felt and therefore how I was able to show up within my business. Whereas now I'm like, okay, cool, it's just a part of the business that I run. And how can I support myself moving forwards? It doesn't reflect my worth, it doesn't reflect my abilities, it doesn't say anything about the long-term trajectory of my business or anything like that. And I'm so much more resilient to fluctuations and better able to handle them because I know my worth and because I've learned to detach from those kinds of situations. So it's when you work on your relationship with yourself and your relationship with work, rest, training, your body, it has such a profound impact on your life because it improves your ability to handle difficult situations so greatly, and you're so much more able to carry on showing up for yourself or for your work in a really positive way, as opposed to those negative experiences, whatever they may be, getting you down and really impacting your ability to show up for an extended period, because that will have a negative impact on your business or your personal life in some way or another. So it just it changes the game when you have a positive relationship with yourself, with your work, when you truly believe in yourself, when you truly believe in your own capabilities, and you recognize that you are a fantastic person and a complete person, regardless of what happens externally. And personally, so the note I wrote on the notes page of my phone, I wrote this down when I was at the gym, and I caught myself in the mirror. And this note is not to do with the way that I looked externally in terms of my physique. It was just a moment where I caught myself, and I just thought to myself, I was in a really reflective mood. I don't know why this day, but the what I wrote down was, I caught myself in the mirror at the gym today, and I thought, I really like myself. And that was more to do with myself as a person and who I am internally than anything external. But I really like the whole of me, both inside and out, exactly as I am, regardless of the fact that there are and there always will be things that I would like to improve on. And this note to myself signified a lot of growth for me, because a few years ago, there's not a chance I would have had a thought like that about myself, or there's not a chance I would have spoken to myself in such a positive way without it feeling forced. And I think that's the key, is if I had written something like that in the past, it would have felt like I'm really forcing this and I don't actually believe it. Whereas now I genuinely think I am a great person. And obviously there are areas of my life that I have work to do that I want to improve. However, when you genuinely believe that you are a good person and you genuinely like yourself because of the work that you have done, the progress that you want to achieve becomes so much more likely and a much more positive and nourishing experience. And it becomes something that is so much more life enhancing, as opposed to you being sort of dependent upon this progress and you being dependent upon these external goals to feel like you're enough. So yeah, it just signifies so much growth for me. And a lot of people, just to go back to that point, get wrong about getting to this place of self-acceptance and getting to this place where they actually like themselves, whether that be personally or professionally, and they recognize their capabilities. They believe that it'll make them complacent and stop them from achieving their goals because they already think they're enough. But the reality is that's far from the truth. What happens is that when you actually like yourself as a person, and your relationship with yourself and your work is in a good place, and you respect yourself and accept yourself as you are, it increases your drive and motivation to pursue goals that are actually meaningful and appropriate for you. So you will be less driven to pursue goals that are not right for you, because you're not dependent upon this external thing to feel enough, and you're not just going to latch onto anything. But it increases your drive and motivation to pursue goals that are right for you, to embrace discomfort and to push yourself, but from a very different place, from a very different motivation, because you no longer have to work to feel worthy and to feel like a complete person and to feel enough. You don't have to prove yourself and drive yourself into the ground anymore because you feel so uncomfortable with allowing yourself to rest, which is where I've been in the past. You actually get to work. You get to strive for goals that will enhance your life and make you a better person. And I know for a lot of you listening to this, that will feel a really long way away. And that's absolutely okay. It did for me too. I can relate to that. I, to be honest with you, when I was competing in bodybuilding and when I was in this, negative place, I wasn't even really aware of it. And I think that's the difficult thing about it, is when you're struggling with these things, you don't always have an awareness of what you're struggling with. I personally just felt this intense drive with things like competing in bodybuilding. And I felt like it was my sole purpose. I felt like it was the only thing I was good at. I felt like it was kind of my life purpose, I guess. But the reality is, it felt so intense because I was so dependent upon that goal to feel enough. And I didn't realize that, I don't think, until maybe towards the end of my time in bodybuilding, after a good period of time competing in the sport, when it just dawned on me that actually this is not in line with the trajectory I want my life to go in, and this is not making me truly happy anymore. And it really sunk in when I stepped away from the sport. And then I was like, oh, that was why I was doing that. And that's when I started to really do this work on my relationship with myself, my body, my relationship with my work, my relationship with rest. And then that all really started to pay off. And I would love you, if you're listening to this, to imagine how different it would feel to bring your awareness to, if you are someone who's striving for goals that you have, or pushing yourself with work from this place of not feeling like enough. Question how different it would feel if you were chasing goals from a place of feeling like you were worthy, you were enough, you were complete, even without achieving those goals, but achieving them would actually enhance your life. Imagine how different that drive would feel. Imagine how different your mindset would feel. And imagine how less likely you would be to encounter issues like burnout, self-sabotage, because self-sabotage happens when often, not always, but often when you're pursuing goals that aren't actually in line with your values, or goals that aren't right for you, or in a way that's not right for you. And we're more likely to end up striving to achieve goals that aren't right for us if we're working from this place of lack and not feeling enough, because we will latch onto anything as a goal just to prove our worth. Whereas if you already feel like you are enough and you're complete and you're whole without an external goal, you will only then chase goals that actually add to your life and are meaningful to you, because there's no reason to pursue goals that aren't anymore. So you'd be so much less likely to encounter self-sabotage when you're working to achieve goals, because you're more likely to select goals that are right for you. And self-sabotage often occurs when we're chasing goals that are not right for us, or are not in line with our goal, our values, and the trajectory of life that we want to head towards, I guess. And you'll be so much less likely, if you are working to change from a positive place and you're engaging in healthy striving, you'll be so much less likely to feel like you've completely lost yourself in your pursuits. So if you've ever tried to achieve a goal and then at the end of it you feel like your identity is completely tied up in that goal, like you don't know who you are without it, that's a sign that maybe you're working to change from this place of lack, feeling like you're not enough. And therefore, you latch onto the goal and make it your entire identity, because you don't know who you are outside of that. And you're so dependent upon it. So if you encounter that, or you have encountered that, maybe take a step back and ask, okay, where am I striving for these goals from? Is it from this place of not feeling like enough? Or and do I therefore need to work on my relationship with myself, my relationship with work, my relationship with rest, my life outside of that, my identity, all of these things? Or are you working to achieve goals from a place of self-respect, in which case carry on? What does your experience of chasing goals feel like for you? That is the question I want you to reflect on. And let me know your thoughts on, drop me a DM, because I would absolutely love to hear from you. So I really hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of the Female Fitness Podcast. I would love to hear from you, so please message me your thoughts off the back of today's podcast. And if you would like support achieving goals that are right for you from a place of self-respect, I do have coaching spots available at the moment, so please don't hesitate to get in touch. Drop me a message, say you're interested in coaching, and we can have a chat. I never push anyone into anything. There is no strings attached to us having a conversation. And I always want to make sure that we're a good fit anyway. So, what I would do if you drop me a message and let me know you're interested is I'd send over all of the coaching information that you would need, a little bit of a rundown on how the process works with me. You can book in for a free consultation call so we can talk through everything in a little bit more detail. I can get to know a little bit more about you and your goals, and then we can set up a plan of action if you do want to go ahead. So let me know if you have any questions, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day whenever you listen to this. And I really hope that you found today's podcast insightful.